Welcome back to Everything Film, as Agencyclick presents Everything Film with Film Robot. We're broadcasting from the Shark Club in downtown Vancouver. Joe Leary, along with Patrick Shelton of Everything Film and Film Robot. And our guest is Aleks Paunovic, who we started talking about before the break, this new concept, this revolutionary concept, first of all, on a couple of fronts. The project is called Zero Contact. Mm-hmm. You star alongside Sir Anthony Hopkins, or Tony as you now know him.
Yeah.
But it's a one-of-a-kind. First of all, you mentioned you did the whole thing via Zoom. Mm-hmm. This must have been a pain in the butt, but probably the end result was there.
It was an interesting thing, just because, like, when Rick asked me to be a part of it, and I love the idea of being a part of it, and how were we going to do it, because everyone's house was the set. So to have that being, you're in your house, and so the set designer, can you move that picture in the back? Can you put some more light in the background? And hey, can you wear a different shirt? Like, we had as if we were actually shooting, but everyone was on the Zoom call. So we were getting notes, and we were doing the whole thing, and then I had to set up the camera here and a couple of GoPros, and I had a buddy drive by my place and fly his drone so we can have a drone shot. It was just cool to do, but we didn't have a permit because everything was shut down. So at 2:00 in the morning, we had to fly the drone to get the shot.
Oh, wow.
So it was all these really interesting little things that we were going through in the audio. Like, I remember doing this killer take and Rick saying cut, and I go check, and I forgot to hit record. So it's like, that's not my job. Never was my job before, but now it's all my job. So it made it really interesting in that way.
So I'm guessing because it was all done via Zoom, did you still have craft services?
Yeah, just me making peanut butter sandwiches.
So tell us about the storyline then in Zero Contact, and then I want to dive into this NFT thing, because, and I don't expect you to be a TED Talk on it, but I just can't wrap my head around how unique this whole concept is.
Yeah, I mean, it's such a different idea of how to do a film, and again, this film is the very first film in the world to be an NFT. So that alone is something that's like, I was talking to a friend of mine, like, the very first tweet was sold as an NFT, and it went for like $270,000. Like, that's incredible. My mind can't wrap my head around that kind of stuff, but I understand the collector's idea of it. But when we were shooting Zero Contact, none of that was even in anyone's minds. We just wanted to get this show done and be creative during it. And Anthony Hopkins plays a guy named Finley Hart who develops this quantum leap time machine, and there's 7 people in the world that he trusts, and so he goes through some trials and tribulations, and he sends a code to all these people but we really don't know each other, and we jump on a Zoom all together to kind of talk to each other, but we don't really trust each other, and we're supposed to enter this code all basically at the same time. So the film takes us through the journey of why we're going to do it or why we won't do it.
Well, with Anthony Hopkins as the lead, and he's in there now, you said you've worked with him before. Mm-hmm. How excited was that? And he's getting on board. Was he on board for that? Like, I mean, obviously he doesn't need the money, but he was he on board from the NFT thing? Or that,
no, he was on.
Like, what was it?
From my understandings, he was on board from the creative aspect of it.
Okay.
Because, again, it was the pandemic, and he was keeping as safe as possible, but he still wanted to be creative. And you can't really shoot a movie during the pandemic unless you're approached to do a Zoom movie, and he was approached by someone he worked with before. So the trust was there, the script was there, and the idea that Rick had, regardless if it was an NFT or not, we knew something big was going to happen just because Rick was involved. And then the turn getting into the NFT was something that we, mostly everybody in the cast were like, what's an NFT? And now as we're slowly learning about it, very slowly learning about it, it's become this really extremely exciting venture.
Can you hand walk us through, in layman's terms, how would you begin to describe, let's say I've just landed from another galaxy.
Yeah.
I'm just hearing this for the first time.
Right.
NFT, with respect to a film. What is the uniqueness of this? Because I mean, in reading Rick's comments, it sounds like this is the ground floor of super cutting edge. Mm-hmm. And it's only going to go more from here.
Yeah, and it's a different way for fans to interact, especially fans that are collectors, to really interact with the film. non-fungible tokens is the NFT, and the idea that you can own a film, that film specifically, like 0001, and not only own that film, but you can have the special features and the behind the scenes. We have ideas of things that are inside the film that you can own, and I think it comes from the idea of being a collector. It's a very it's a different source of owning a film. And that to me is really interesting. Again, like I can't really wrap my head around it, and there's a lot more that I need to learn about NFTs. But the idea that someone can own a film, the very first version of it, and it's trackable, it's amongst the branch chains, that it's verifiable. That to me I think is exciting. Just like if I was going to sell you an original painting, you're going to want to hold that on your wall.
What my understanding was, and when I was researching this in the NFT, is a LeBron James dunk sold for like, what was it, $250,000.
Yeah, from that specific angle.
From this specific angle. So this person owns this, and he can't just decide he's going to put it on TV. It's in the blockchain,
it's art.
And it's owned by him, which is sort of a way to get back the ownership of it. So let's say there's 4 of these. They decide to sell 4, and that's it. It's limited edition, and and the only way you can transfer it is through a service and online where
and selling it to other people. Yeah.
So you would sell it. So you would sell it for $300,000 and make a profit on this dunk and give it to someone else.
So these things will never be available in wide release that Joe and Joanne Average can view?
I think that is happening. I don't know how it's happening, but I was talking to Rick the other day, and he said there's going to be a moment where we get it into the masses. But it's all about the originals and what you can own behind the originals.
And I'm guessing that this has probably been on someone's drawing board for a while. There's obviously got to be a starting point of everything. I remember the first car I had that was digital ready.
Right.
And they were saying that a day will come when you'll actually be able to see the artist, the title, and you can actually purchase while you're just driving around.
Yeah.
And it was hard to wrap your head around that. How can things advance that much? But there's one thing technology has taught us: don't rule out anything.
No, not at all. Not at all. I mean, Jeff Bezos went to the moon. Come on.
Yeah.
But it's. I mean, I love the idea that we're a part of a film that originated in Vancouver, with Academy Award winner Anthony Hopkins, and it's the very first of its kind in the world. And I think that's one of the reasons why Anthony was really excited about it. Is, he's 83 years old and he's on the cutting edge of technology right now, and from generations to come, this could be the thing people are talking about.
Well, you have worked with Sir Anthony before, or Tony as you know him, but
T-Bone.
T-Bone. Take us back to the first time you met somebody of his caliber, and how does he interact with everybody on the crew? And you mentioned earlier about some people treat people respectfully, and other people that you mentioned one that don't. But what is it like? What's the buzz on the set? Does that give that show legitimacy, knowing that you've got that person in the cast?
Oh, wow. I mean, I don't know if it's the legitimacy of it. It's just the idea that, like you pinch yourself at the idea that somebody of his caliber is here, and you're in the same energy as him. So for me, the first time he walked in, I remember that they were like, okay, so Anthony's coming in to do the scene, and it was my first day, and I'm all nervous because he's one of my idols, and I'm like, don't fangirl, just don't fangirl, don't fangirl.
I like that one.
And I'm standing there, and somebody said, okay, Tony's entering the building, and you can feel the air getting thicker, and I'm like, don't fangirl. And I kind of put my back to where the doorway was. And the AD goes, Alex, this is Tony. Tony, this is Alex. He's playing Scala, doing the scene with him. And I did this. What's up? And I turned back around. And I went, oh, man, you totally overplayed that.
Nice.
And then I had to tell him, I go, listen, I'm sorry. I'm just nervous. I love you guys. Oh, it's okay. Call me Tony. And then off we went.
But there's no red carpet, no flirts and trumpets. Ladies and gentlemen, Sir Anthony Hopkins on the set.
None of that. And it was hilarious because we sat there, and he's a huge boxing fan. So we just started talking about boxing. And I couldn't believe how I'm looking into the blue eyes of the man that, like that I was idolized, and having this immense boxing conversation, and the AD is just waiting for a moment to interrupt us to take us to set, and I'm like, don't screw this up. This is an amazing moment.
I'll ask you a question, because if I was in your position, and meeting people and all that, do you go right to like the character that they represented? Like, that's how you met them, because that's how you know them, right? So like, if I met Anthony Hopkins, I'd go right to the obvious, right?
Right.
Like Clarice, right? It's like
what,
her.
Yeah.
Tom Hanks would be like.
What's hilarious is,
right?
is Julia Stiles was on the film also, and
right.
Julia was obviously a huge fan, and because Tony was just so chill and fun and everything, it opened up the opportunity for her to go, can you leave a voice message as Hannibal Lecter in my phone? And he did, and she still has it to this day.
Oh, that's
and
classic.
He left this, he even did the lava beat. He did the whole thing. It was awesome. It was awesome.
It's funny, Alex, because they say who they are. They say, don't meet your heroes, because you tend to be disappointed. But a lot of times you do meet your heroes, and they live up to expectation. I've heard stories when Henry Winkler was in town shooting Dead Man's Gun and was regaling people on the set, and everybody's going, oh my God, that's the Fonz. Could not have been a cooler guy.
Yeah.
I've heard stories about where lead actors will actually audition auction off their per diem to the crew, and you love hearing stories like that. And then every once in a while, there's that counter story. But I'm sure the majority of your career, you've rubbed shoulders, and the experience when you walk away has been, that was fun.
Yeah, and I think a lot of that has to do with what you bring to the set also. Like, I love being a part of a team and being a part of a set, and you can work through any trials and tribulations through kindness and compassion and make things happen. And if you go in there with that attitude, most of the time you're gonna get it back, and that's what I love to exude. When I see the people that I look up to doing that, it just reaffirms how I want to live in this world even that much more. So the person I mentioned before was not something that I wanted to learn and live my life through, and thank God that he wasn't there when I was younger, because it could have been something that I went, oh, I guess that's how you do it in the business.
Right.
So the Zero Contact, this is a pretty exciting project,
Mm-hmm.
but again, you're a busy, steadily working actor. What's next?
Well, I'm shooting this top secret show that I leave on Friday to Atlanta that I can't say or else I get sued, but I cannot wait for people to see it. And working on a few other indies right now, and and we got some great news coming up with the whole Zero Contact stuff, so it's really good.
So when are we going to see you tracking bad guys then? I mean, you've done everything else. You said you've always been the bad guy. When do you get to pursue the bad guy?
Well, I don't know. Hopefully soon. But we just got picked up for season 4 of Snowpiercer, and that's a show that I absolutely love being a part of. It's one of those shows to me that it's a mirror to society as the train kind of rolls through, and I love my character in the Stephen Ogg and Michael O'Malley and all these amazing Jennifer Connelly, Daveed Diggs. So I'm really happy that Vancouver has such a solid film community.
On a show like Snowpiercer, do you get the script 7 shows in advance, 1 in advance?
No.
Like, how does that work?
One in advance.
So you don't know what your character's doing from show to show.
You don't know, because you go to.
Is that typical? Is that typical?
Yeah.
Or
I mean, you go and do your table reads, usually every week for the next episode, and that's when you find out what's going on in the next episode.
Now
It's trippy sometimes.
That's got to be stressful, right?
It is, because sometimes.
Is this when I'm going to get killed?
Listen, man, I had a practical joke on Van Helsing that was done to me by the showrunner, not John Walker, but Neil LaBute, where through the whole two seasons, all he kept on saying was, hey, good job. Too bad you're going to be dying soon. Like, stuff like that. And you're like, oh, man, am I? Well, I don't know. Maybe you might. So sure enough, he put out a script. The 12th, or the last episode of season 3, he put out a script that basically said, that I read. It's like, and Julius runs, and the gate comes down, cuts off his head. I'm like, that's how you're killing me? A gate cutting off? That's how? And I call him, and I'm like, hey, man. He goes, yeah, I meant to call you to let you know, but yeah, sorry, that's what we're doing. And I'm just trying to play it all cool. I'm like, oh, it's okay, man. I'm so happy to be a part of the show this long. And he finally said at the end, goes, gotcha. And I went,
wow.
You went so far to print out a script and send it to all the cast.
That's brilliant.
It was
Yeah.
the best I've ever
It
been
means
gotten.
he likes you. That's
Best I've ever.
the best.
He's one of my best buddies,
That's
and that's
great.
the best I've ever been gotten.
Aleks Paunovic is our guest. I would be remiss if I did not ask you about this. I read that you put on 65 pounds of pizza and ice cream for a roll.
Yeah.
Sounds pretty good at the end, but at the end of the
No,
day.
it was good. It was good in the first week.
Yeah.
And then it was absolutely horrible.
Okay, so is that a recommended way to gain 65 pounds for a roll, or is that the Aleks Paunovic way to gain 65 pounds?
I just went for it. I
Okay.
went for this role. I played this mentally challenged character that was accused of killing Ashton Kutcher's character's sister in the film. It was with Kathy Bates too. It was a beautiful film, and it was one of those, when we were talking about typecasting, it was one of those that I was never I was like the very last person to be seen, and I was just trying my best to get in that room. And when I finally got the role, I felt like, okay, I feel too strong for this character because I've been boxing a ton. So I didn't do one push-up for 3 months, and I ate all that stuff, and it got me into a state where I felt like that character in a way. I don't recommend it. I probably wouldn't do it again in the way that I did it, but it was one of those roles that I really wanted to prove that I can do it.
So we know how the weight went on. What was the regimen to get the weight off?
Still trying. No. But just back to boxing, going back to boxing, eating better, yeah.
What would be in your top 5 films that you could watch repeatedly?
Oh, Rocky, for sure. Legends of the Fall. The Seven.
Yeah.
Seven. It's a Wonderful Life, repeatedly. One more, huh? I can't think of one more, but those 4 for sure.
Okay. And would you have that bucket list of? I mean, I'm sure there's a ton of people out there that you would love to work with, but is there any 1 or 2 names in particular that you thought, I could see myself maybe doing something with insert name here?
I've had friends, and Jerry Trimble being one of them, who worked with De Niro and Pesci, or De Niro and Pacino. I think that would be awesome. I have a lot of friends that worked with those guys, and that would be pretty great to learn from the best.
Well, it's been a pleasure having you
man.
in person. Thank you for joining us at Shark Club. It's called Zero Contact. It is the first of its kind, an NFT. And let's come have you back down the road and see what's going
for
on.
sure.
I'm down, especially these coffees.
Thank you so much.